What's up, YouTube? Tops85401 here. Guys, I don't know how this video is going to go. I have a outline of an agenda. However, I don't know how long it's going to be. And if you have kids, you'll probably want to watch this video before you watch it with your kids. You may not want your kids to watch this video. Just a warning. But I'm going to, I don't know what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do, but just a warning, if you have kids, you might want to watch this video first if you and your kids watch my channel together. All right, so this video is my argument for Barry Bonds being voted into the Hall of Fame through the ERA committee. Now, the reason why I'm making this video, I've been pretty quiet about Barry Bonds and the Hall of Fame and stuff like that for the most part since he didn't get in on his last ballot when David Ortiz got in. And he's been, he's on the, what do they call it, the contemporary era ballot. So any player that their major contributions were post-1980, of course, Bonds fits that. And there are 8 finalists. Bonds being one of them. So first of all, before I get started, I'm going to tell you that that Don Mattingly is not a Hall of Famer. Dale Murphy is not a Hall of Famer. So a lot of the guys on this contemporary ballot are not Hall of Famers. So they shouldn't even be considered. But I'm not here to talk about Dale Murphy or Don Mattingly. God, that guy's not a Hall of Famer. Don't get me started on him. I'm here to talk about Barry Bonds. And hopefully you guys will appreciate this video. Hopefully you'll watch it and appreciate it. Because I got some facts here. These aren't opinions. These are facts. So first of all, my arguments for Bonds being in the Hall of Fame. 1, Bud Selig's in the Hall of Fame. Think about that. Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame. I want you guys to think about that. Why is Bud Selig in the Hall of Fame? Now, I'm not saying Bonds put him there. All I'm saying is he's in the Hall of Fame. And what era did he oversee in baseball? Let's think about that. And what did he do? Let's think about that. All right. So Bud Selig's in the Hall of Fame. My second argument, and I'm going to talk about Barry Bonds' statistics through the 1998 season, only through 1998. I'm not going to talk about all of his statistics. I'm just going to talk about some of the things that really pop out to me. So this is through 1998 only, the pre-alleged steroid years. I know Bonds used steroids after 98, and it doesn't appear that he used them before 1998. So think about this. Barry Bonds' WAR, wins above replacement, through 1998 was 97.1. 97.1 through the 1998 season. That was his career WAR. He had already accumulated 3 MVPs. And he should have had 4. In 1991, Terry Pendleton won the MVP with a WAR of 5.8. Bonds' WAR was 7.6. But Terry Pendleton won the MVP. All right. Bonds had 8 Gold Gloves and 8 All-Star appearances through 1998. And also, here's a glaring statistic. You're never going to see this, guys, ever. This is pre-steroid. He had 1,357 walks and only 1,050 strikeouts. He had 350 more base on balls and strikeouts through 1998. Another reason why I think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, when you're watching the MLB Network or anybody talking about, like anybody supporting Bonds for the Hall of Fame, and one of the arguments I hear a lot of the analysts talking about is there are already guys in the Hall of Fame that use PEDs. There are guys in the Hall of Fame that use PEDs. Well, the guys that don't think Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame don't say anything about that. They don't have any kind of reply. They just keep their mouth shut. So someone will say, well, one of the reasons why I think Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame is because there are already players in the Hall of Fame and the era is muddied and you can't really go off of whether someone used PEDs or not, which is a great point. And then the guy that wants to argue that Bonds shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame does this. They say nothing. Why? Because everybody in Major League Baseball knows that there are guys that are in the Hall of Fame right now. Everybody, anybody, excuse me, anybody that is involved in baseball, that writes, that is a sports writer, that's a sports analyst, that's on TV talking about sports or talking about baseball, MLB Network, ESPN, any of those channels, they know for a fact that there are players in the Hall of Fame right now that use PEDs. Okay? So, why isn't Bonds in the Hall of Fame? Well, we could talk about that too. One, obviously, a lot of players or a lot of writers and people that have an opinion on whether he should be in the Hall of Fame or don't like the fact that he used PEDs. That's one reason why. Another reason why is Bonds had a horrible relationship with the media. Okay? There's no doubting that. Bonds had a horrible relationship with the media. And here's another argument that drives me nuts. People say, well, Bonds shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because of character. If someone wants to use that, what did Bonds ever do besides be an asshole to the media as far as character is concerned? I mean, look at other people that are in the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame, that were a lot worse personality-wise than Barry Bonds. I mean, I just give a quick example, Ty Cobb, or the commissioner of baseball post-Black Sox scandal, Landis, right? That guy's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, what's going on here, guys? What are these types of guys doing in the Hall of Fame if character is one of the requirements to be in the Hall of Fame? So that's just not a good argument. What other things did I want to talk about? Oh, okay. Here's an argument. Okay, so Barry Bonds, here's some eye-popping stuff right here. So we all know that Bonds had 307 more walks than hits through the 1998 season. And Bonds had 762 career home runs, which eked out Hank Aaron, right? But if you look at Bonds' career walks over strikeouts, he had 1,019 more walks than strikeouts. So he had 2,558 career walks to 1,539 strikeouts. Now, I did a little bit of math here, guys. I can argue that Bonds could have easily, I'm not saying he should have, but what I'm saying is had he been pitched to more, he would have had 880 career home runs, approximately, instead of 762. Now, here's how I came up with those numbers. Now, this is career-wise. This isn't pre-1998. But let's just say that Bonds had 1,539 career strikeouts and 1,539 career walks. That would have given him 1,019 more at-bats in his career, right? If you were to just make that an even 1-to-1. So, in other words, if he would have been pitched to more, that would have given him, he had a career average 12.92 at-bats per home run. So with those 1,019 more at-bats, he would have had 78 more home runs, which would have given him a career total of 841. And then the fact that Bonds was blackballed after the 2007 season, he had probably 2 more seasons left. And if he would have averaged 20 home runs in those last 2 seasons, that would have given him a bump to 880 career home runs. So this is just what could have been, right, guys? I'm not talking about what should have been. I'm talking about what could have been. And then his career hits, he had 2,935 career hits. So his career batting average was 298. So if he would have had a 298 batting average over those 1,019 more at-bats, that would have given him 297 more career hits for a total of 3,232 hits. And had he not been blackballed, he would have had closer to 3,400 career hits. So that's just a little bit of what could have been, but it's completely irrelevant, except that, hey, everybody talks about what could have been. Why? Because when they talk about Fred McGriff being in the Hall of Fame, they say, well, you know, McGriff would have had 500 home runs if they wouldn't have had that strike-shortened season. I'm not even going into the strike-shortened season on Barry Bonds' career. And by the way, guys, I do think McGriff should be in the Hall of Fame. So, and the only reason why I mention that is he's on the era committee ballot, or the contemporary whatever ballot. So, anyways, those are things that I think why Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, and why I'm sick and tired of people being punk ass bitches about why Bonds shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, and all they could say is his head grew, or he used PEDs. Well, everybody used PEDs, and of course his head grew. He used PEDs, but I mean, look at his pre-1999 statistics. His statistics through 1998. How many players are not in the Hall of Fame with a 97.1 career WAR that were never involved in PEDs? I mean, think about that. And then here's another thing that drives me nuts. People say that Bonds used PEDs, so he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. Of course, I already discussed players during the PED era. We know they're in the Hall of Fame, but even you go back to the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, everybody used PEDs. Well, not everybody. A lot of players used PEDs back then. Maybe they didn't understand that they were using PEDs, but we all know in the 70s, players used greenies. Like steroids are around in the 80s. There's a lot of speculation that that Reggie Jackson used steroids at the very tail end of his career. There's a lot of speculation, or actually it's kind of fact, that in 1961, Mickey Mantle was shooting himself up with steroids, and that's why his hip got that infection, and he was injured for the last third of the season, because he was dealing with the infection in his hip from all the injections that he was getting. Yes, Mickey Mantle got injected with steroids in 1961 in his hip. I know that might piss a lot of people off to hear that, but this is what happened. We all know this happened. It's a fact. During the 70s, players were using uppers, peppies, greenies, whatever you want to call them, so that when they were traveling, they'd have more energy. Don't tell me that those pills didn't help these guys perform better, wake them up, perform better. I mean, it's documented. Everybody knows. So anyway, but that's even beside the point. I think that if you want to argue that Bonds shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame because he used PEDs, my argument back, and I just dropped the mic on this one. Look at what he did in his first 13 seasons in Major League Baseball with a career WAR of 97.1 through the 1998 season, and no one says Bonds used steroids before 1999. So through 1998, a career WAR of 97.1, 3 MVPs, and I'm not even going to talk about what should have been. I'm just going to say he had 3 MVPs, 8 Gold Gloves, 8 All-Star appearances, 1,357 walks to 1,057 strikeouts. Guys, I don't know. It just frustrates me. I think that if Barry Bonds had the same relationship with the media that David Ortiz had, he would already be in the Hall of Fame.